Soft influencers, let's get booze.
Listen to A. Thompson for an hour. I'd rather fuck a blood relative.
It's A. Thompson.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode whatever the fuck it is. I don't know what we're on now, honestly. Of A. Thompsin and Other Disappointments. Your twice, sometimes thrice weekly delve into the worlds of politics, dystopia, and all things awful. I am your host, A. Thompsin, and allow me to take you by your hand as we gallivant through these fields of gallows humour. Allow me to be your Willy Wonka, dancing and singing my way as I point out the world's minor quibbles and completely unresolvable problems, from climate change to Brexit to James Corden. Big shout out to the Patreon backers, as always. Doff of the cap to you guys. You give my funny bone a funny boner, etc., etc. Looking forward to meeting up with a few of you at the September gig. That is on Thursday, the 28th of September. If you haven't got tickets for that yet, I really encourage you to grab them super quick. There's a link in this description to this episode. So grab yourself some of those. Thursday, the 28th of September, it's me, Otto English, Ashley Hayden, John Left of the Countryside. It's going to be a night of boozy, fun, games, podcast, stand-up, you name it. It's going to be cool. And we're all going to hang out together afterwards. So you have been warned. Grab those tickets now before they sell out. Now, before we get into this episode proper, as it were, I'm going to do a quick promo, if you like. I've got a new song out. If you're into satire, if you're into hip-hop, I have this tune that's out now on Spotify. You can also see it on my YouTube. There's a video for it and everything. It's called Everything Is Fucked, Now Drink With Me. Which is, I'm sure you will agree, very much on brand for this podcast. In fact, I may have even titled a show that at some point, if memory serves. I know I've said it a lot, like in the intro and everything, but it's a concept that runs through my veins. It's me speaking my truth, for better or worse. So yeah, it's called Everything Is Fucked, Now Drink With Me. It sounds a bit like this. In a country with no hope and a world with a death, we should like to welcome everybody as friends here. Arrive just in time for the ending. From the climate to Brexit, pandemics to Putin, put a beer in your chest quick. Running dry in your engine. Grab a wine before they fly me off to my intervention. Tonight, anyway, you might not like it. You might not even be into hip-hop. You might not even be into music. But I thought, you know, if some of you maybe like that kind of stuff, or even like satirical comedy kind of music, maybe it might be worth putting it out there. So there you go. It's out there for you, if you are so inclined. Right, what are we going to talk about today? What's in the news, guys? First things first, this is a story that sort of bubbled up into my periphery the other day. It's about the 2021 Oxford school shooting that took place in Michigan. In the United States. And I know like there's a lot of school shootings that happen over there, and they all kind of fade into one, but also when something happens like 2 years ago, it kind of, you know, the news cycle moves very quickly. It's hard for us to maintain these recollections and to remember all of the details. But this was a particularly egregious one, because this was a kid who, he didn't like shoot a bunch of people and then kill himself. Like, he pre-planned the shootings, documented his hate in a school notebook, drew pictures of like how he was going to shoot specific people. And I know, like, in the past on different, you know, historical episodes, I have mocked the United States for its lax gun laws, for its hugely irresponsible attitude to gun ownership, for its lack of responsibility in terms of implementation of background checks and refusing gun sales to people who have previously had mental health problems. But this story came out, and honestly, like, rather than it kind of reaffirming or, you know, filling me with some kind of smug, snarky kind of comedic mileage, which is usually what these Americana stories would do to me, rather than that, actually, it just made me feel really fucking sad. You know? Because here you had a kid who was obviously deeply unhappy, documenting this sort of stuff. And his parents were called into the school because the school were deeply concerned about his conduct and about the way that he was speaking and about the sort of stuff that they were finding in his notepads. And still the parents did nothing. In fact, the parents bought him a fucking gun. And I know it's so easy that, like, we as Brits, thankfully, thank the fucking Lord, we don't live in a country where there's just firearms on every street corner and we've got this lax legislation, at least for now. I mean, if the Tories get in again at the next general election, I would not put it past them at all that they start to table the possibility of relaxing gun laws, because it fits right in that Tory culture war, right wing, distract them with this conversation. Then it'll be hanging in the town square. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like your Lee Andersons, your Brendan Clark-Smith. If it's the choice out of having an honest conversation with you about interest rates and about tempering spiking energy bills and helping you... If it's the choice out of having that conversation or reopening the debate on gun ownership, or it's not the 1970s anymore, a lot of these kids out there, they're armed, and it's only right that our bobbies on the beat are armed as well, and you should have the right to protect your family. It's all going to happen if the Tories win the next election, I promise you. But at least for now, we are living in a country that doesn't have to deal with those sorts of problems. But anyway, I know it's easy for, like, us as Brits to, you know, throw shade at America and go like, ha, well, that's what you get for selling AK-47s at Walmart, you fucking idiots. It's really easy to sort of fall back into that lazy non-analysis when we see these stories of, you know, NRA gun ownership kind of Americana stuff. But I want to do this, you know, properly. So let's get into this. Let's actually look at what happened, shall we? Here we go. So this is from CNN.com, and it's a sort of timeline kind of blog article thing that I'm following if you want to go and search it. So this says the weekend before the shooting. So James Crumbley, who I assume is the shooter's father, James Crumbley bought the gun that authorities believe was used in the shooting on November the 26th at an Oxford store in Michigan with his son. So a nice father and son day out. You know, when I go out with my dads, we go out for a Sunday roast. How fucking boring, right? When I go out with my dad, we go for a walk in the park. We go to feed the ducks. We take my kids to a climbing frame and we both just sit there in silence, you know. Both of us just sat there, delighted that neither one of us are talking, you know, lest one of us actually says something meaningful and we actually have to have a proper fucking conversation about shit that happened like 25 years ago. Or just sat like, you're not going to say anything, are you? No. Oh, okay, cool. Great day out. Fantastic Father's Day. Yeah. You know, a lot of people, once they reach middle age, they're like, I just wish that me and my dad talked more. You know, I wish that we actually started to open a real dialogue. I wish he was there and present and asked me questions about my job and my friends and my life. You know, not me. I don't want any of that. Because if he asks me those, I'm going to have to ask him the questions back. And inevitably it will get on to what took place and my parents' divorce and what he regrets. And we don't need to fucking open that Pandora's box. That fucking genie can stay straight in that bowl. That genie can stay locked up like a fucking half Iranian teacher. You know, sometimes like friends of mine or like, you know, ex-girlfriends have said to me, you know, wouldn't it be good though to just have that conversation? Just one time. You never have to have it again, Aid. Just sit down with your parents and just be honest. Just be open with them. Just say, you know, because you two couldn't sort your fucking shit out in 1984, that completely changed the trajectory of my entire life. And you have no idea what it was like to go to a school in the home counties, in the shires, where friends of mine, their parents were still together and they had that dual income. So they had a 4 or 5 bed detached house with a big gravel driveway and a locked gate. And, you know, they had nice holidays and takeaway as a family on a Friday night. Meanwhile, me and my brother moved 6 times in 7 years, raised on council estates and shit. Like, I'm just saying, it was awkward having to lend my mum £250 of my own pocket money just so she could make it through the month against a backdrop of my friends going on skiing holidays. That was tough. I'm just saying that there is a cyclical traumatization element to growing up in a single mother council house environment where everyone is constantly struggling. Now I'm 42 years old. I'm on a good salary. And yet I constantly worry or feel like I'm about to fall into the red, which I fucking am, by the way. But that is concurrent. That is a coincidence. That's got nothing to do with my upbringing. That's mostly down to... I'm not going to blame you motherfuckers for the Tory interest rate mortgage crisis. That is not your fault. That is, I agree with that. But I'm just saying, maybe given the tumultuousness and the hecticness and the backdrop of all my friends living in, you know, nuclear families, I'm just saying maybe it was kind of understandable that I was, you know, a bit off the rails from age 15 to 30. But you know what? The reason I don't have that conversation is because I am almost 100% certain that actually where it would go is like I would talk about, you know, going off the rails and being a bit wayward and sweary and being a bit of a booze hound and all of this other stuff. And then like, and how hard it all was on me. And then I can almost guarantee that my mum would like lean in and she would just go, yeah, your childhood was actually really hard on us both. You know, like I was a shit kid or something. I don't want to hear that shit. You know, call me a raging narcissist that cannot handle criticism if you must. In the comment section, you know, whatever, leave me a review that tells me I'm shit. But I'm just saying I don't need to hear my mother or father tell me that I was an awful child right now. We'll save that for the fucking deathbed and dementia. How about that shit? Anyway, so the school shooting. Let's get back to that. So this timeline thing on CNN, it says the weekend before the shooting, the dad bought the gun that police think was used in the shooting. They bought it on November the 26th at one of the local stores. It says around the same day, the alleged shooter, I think we know he's the shooter. Let's just fucking murderer. Around the same day, the murderer posted a photo of a handgun on his Instagram with the caption, "Just got my new beauty today. It's a 6-hour 9mm," with a heart eyes emoji, apparently. And then the mom, Jennifer Crumbley, also posted about the gun on social media over the weekend, saying, "Mom and son day, testing out his new Christmas present." Right? So already you're building up a picture here, right? So the dad takes him out, buys him a gun. The mom takes him out to test it out to the shooting range. So this is a story about great parenting already. I mean, like, here I am, you know, firing criticism at my parents for like, couldn't you two just work it out? Really? Was it that bad? Was it for the sake of my life chances? Can you, like, looking at my dad, I'm like, did you have to put your dick in everything? Did you have to empty your fucking balls in everything that moves? Did you? Really? And then, like, I turn to my mum. I'm like, and couldn't you just let some shit go? Just once. For the sake of my life chances. Could you not? And then, like, what? Fucking 20 seconds later, I look back at this news story and I'm fucking buying their 15-year-old child a 9mm killing machine, taking him out to the gun show. I look at this shit and I'm like, oh, well, no, you two actually, you were actually all right parents, Mum and Dad. Thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah. You did a bang-up job. I turned out amazing. So the dad buys him a gun. The mum takes him out to a shooting range. And then we get on to the next section. It says, disturbing red flags before the shooting. Okay? I assume that they're just going to say, the parents. The parents were just, it was not looking good. As soon as we saw who this kid's parents were. Anyway, it says, as classes resumed after the Thanksgiving holiday, a teacher noticed that Ethan Crumbley, who is the child, the murderer, they noticed that he was searching the web for ammunition. The teacher notified school officials who contacted the parents via phone and email, but the parents did not respond. Okay. Then it says later on that Monday, Jennifer Crumbley, the mum, sent the child a text message saying, lol, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught. Okay. So they buy him a gun. They teach him how to shoot it at the shooting range. And then when he's busted at school, illegally looking for ammunition sites, because he can't buy it, right? He's only 15. They bust him looking at this stuff at the school. They alert the parents, and the parents' reaction is like, oh, I remember when I was your age. Yeah. Look, here's the answer to that is just be a little bit circumspect, all right? Just don't look at that stuff while you're at school. Like it's an old edition of Playboy or some shit. You know, and here's the crushing fucking irony of this is it's always the NRA guys, right? The gun ownership nuts. The people who think that it is synonymous with American freedom, that you should be allowed to own a firearm to protect your family. It's always those gaudy motherfuckers who are the first to take offense and then preach about the dangers of, like, pornography on kids today, you know? Like, I can almost guarantee that if this little shit had been caught with a copy of Playboy in his school satchel, his parents would have read him the fucking Riot Act. And yet, getting busted looking up ammunition websites for killing machines, and they're like, lol, just try not to get caught next time, yeah? Wow. Cheers, by the way. There's a part of me that really wants to see what would happen to the American Christian right, like to families like that. How would they react if there was a female school shooter? You know? Like, how would they react when they see sex or, like, disrobed women as more damaging to their children than irresponsibility over firearms, you know? Like, if it's a female school shooter and, like, I don't know, the kid comes home after a bad fucking day at an American high school and the mum is like, how was your day, sweetheart? Well, it was it's actually really stressful. There was a school shooting today. Oh, my God, I heard on the radio. That's like the 5th one this month. Yeah, that's right, Mom. It was really bad. And did they catch the shooter? Yeah, they did. It was a girl. It was a girl? That's right, Mom. It was Brittany from my English class. Right. So, what happened? Well, it was this fucking school shooting, Mom. There's bullets spraying everywhere. She brought in a MAC-10, her father's automatic, spraying bullets. 3 of my friends died. It was blood all over the floor, ambulances, paramedics, everything, the whole shit. It was really traumatizing. I'm going to be traumatized by this, Mom. Well, okay, but, you know, silver lining, me and your father are probably going to stay together, so you probably psychologically work it out, and you have actually pretty good life change. Anyway, it's not important. So you say it was a girl? It was this Brittany girl? Yeah, that's right, Mom. For the third time, it was a girl. Brittany. She took a MAC-10 in. She sprayed all of my buddies. They're all fucking dead. And then the mom's like, okay. Oh, I get it. It was traumatizing. It was awful. It was really bad. Bullets, guns, everything. Can I just ask though, one question, and then I'll leave it. I promise. What is it, Mom? I've had a long day. I really just want to go to bed. Can I just ask? She wasn't naked, or no, Mom. Why would she be naked? Okay, no, it's fine. I just wanted to check how much traumatizing danger you were in. Do you know what I mean? Like a pair of tits, a naked woman is more of a concern, more of a social issue to these people than a fucking murder machine. like I swear to God. British people now are left with this impression of the United States that it is like, oh my God, Hank, what are you doing, man? It's after 5. Why are you taking your kids out? You know what happens when we shut up shop? It's just 2,000 goddamn rednecks shooting their semi-automatics off like it's a goddamn shooting range. Like, Jesus Christ, Hank, like, Mary Lou, why are you letting him do it? Don't take your kids out. After 5, it's not safe for your kids, man. And then Mary Lou, claps back. She's like, no, it's okay, Buck. It's all right. There is no drag queens reading stories to little kids. It's very safe. Anyway, let's get back to this CNN timeline thing. So it says, another piece of evidence is a journal found in Crumbley's backpack. And it details his desire to shoot up the school, and that should include murdering students. So, kind of disturbed, dark kind of shit. It says, on Tuesday morning, another teacher found a drawing on the accused shooter's desk that essentially depicted a shooting. It said it alarmed her to the point that she took a picture of it on her cell phone to record her. It said the picture showed a semi-automatic weapon, a handgun, pointing at the words, "The thoughts won't stop me." And it included a drawing of a bullet with the words "blood everywhere" written above it. Also, the words "my life is useless" and "the world is dead" were also written alongside the drawing. Now, I think it's important to contextualize this, that drawings are not necessarily crimes. Okay, we've all said and done and drawn some stupid shit in our life. Like when I was 15 or 16, I was writing the most sort of torturous, tormented lyrics to songs that I thought would be all Kurt Cobain-y and Nirvana-esque. Because when you're that age and you have minimal understanding of long-term impact and side effects of your actions, and when you're only 15 and you don't really understand that this rush of hormones and the drama and how everything that feels so very important and vital, and we have to sort this out right now, and this is important, and this is life-changing. You don't really have any context of that to know. I'm 42. Now, if I feel myself getting all het up about something, I'm I'm going to sleep on this, I'm going to wait till I'm sober. I'm going to wait till I've had a couple of good nights sleep before I send this text message to my dad. Do you know what I mean? The older you get, you have a bit more context to understand what endorphins are like, what hormones can do to you, how you might feel like this is the most important, upsetting, enraging thing right now in this moment, but actually in 5 hours' time, you might not give a shit about it. So I just think it's important to kind of keep the context of this at the forefront of our minds. That even though he's written and drawn these insane things, I mean, let's also add a bit more context. I literally never drew a picture when I was 15 of me murdering my schoolmates, my classmates. That literally, as unhappy as I was and as terrible as my parents' divorce, the impact on me as it was, it changed my life and all that stuff, and the resentment I probably still feel bubbling away underneath, but I'm good enough to keep it all bottled up. As awful and painful and life-changing as all of that was, I literally never once drew a picture of a bullet and like pictures of people with their fucking, bleeding and all that stuff. So, contextualize it as, teen drama and angst and stuff to a bit, but also let's try and keep this in perspective is all I'm saying. Now, here's where it kind of gets interesting, as though, none of this is interesting already. It says the distressing picture that she took of that desk, it says it led school officials to hold a meeting with the shooter and his parents, who were instructed to help provide counseling for their son within 48 hours. So they were so alarmed by these pictures. They were like, you need to get your kid in counseling. He needs to be talking to somebody about it. This is not normal. Do you understand that? And the person giving this interview to CNN is like, when I looked at that picture, when I looked at those images, I took the photo of it and stuff, it was impossible not to conclude that this was a adolescent who was intent on hurting someone. It was impossible. So she was certain, whoever this teacher was. And the school as an institution were clearly reasonably certain that this was headed for a bad place, because they're like, you need to put your son in counseling. But again, the parents resist this. The parents resisted the idea of taking their son out of school, and he was allowed to return to the classroom, it says. And here's the fucking kicker. It says the district's school superintendent said that no discipline was needed against him after that meeting. Like there's a quote in here. It says he was called up to the office and, all of that kind of stuff. But no discipline was warranted. There are no discipline records at the high school for this incident. Like, how fucking wild is that shit? How can you, draw a picture of you killing someone or, bullets going through a head? But the kid is just sat there like the fucking Michelangelo of homicide portraits. Pictures of, people with 2 bullets going through their heads and laughing emojis underneath it. The fucking teacher or teaching assistant or whoever is like, it was impossible not to conclude that this kid was intent on hurting someone. And yet, there's no record of a discipline happening. How do you not discipline a child for drawing murderous, sociopathic pictures? How do you not address that shit? America is so fucked up. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past the fact, maybe the school principal or, the district superintendent or something is like, yeah, I heard that you drew some pictures about people getting murdered. Shut the fuck up. Lol. Next time, just don't get caught, yeah? So let's just do a quick stock take here, shall we? So, the parents buy him a gun. He's only 15. And they teach him how to shoot it. Probably not a great idea. The school catch him trying to buy live ammunition rounds. Again, illegal when you're only 15. The parents do fucking nothing about it. The school catch him drawing these weird and wonderful sociopathic murdery masterpieces that even the teachers say it was obvious he was hell-bent on hurting someone. But neither the parents, they don't want to put him into counselling or pull him out of school, or the school bother to discipline him. All of that is aside, and then he's just allowed to return back to class. So that's where we're at. Failed at every single juncture. Just in case you were curious of, looking at the ingredients of how to orchestrate a tragedy. Just in case you were looking to produce an actual, a show called Making a Murderer. Where you, this is how you do it. You defund social services. You defund local public health care. You deregulate everything from what it takes to be greenlit and signed off as a school counsellor, who I presume he was going to, because I think they have them in America, weirdly, perversely. You wouldn't think they would have school counsellors, a publicly funded mental health thing, but I think they do. But yeah, this is how you do it. This is how you create murderers. You just defund every single one of the nets that would have caught somebody suffering from whatever the fuck mental illness this kid was suffering, whatever kind of trauma he was going through. And I know that we all mock this kind of shit, like, oh my God, oh, he was mentally unwell, was he? Oh, whatever happened to just people being bad? Whatever happened to just people being evil? Why have you got to give them a get out of jail free card, Aid? The answer to that is actually quite simple, because it's not normal to run around shooting people. And we know that because it's not something that happens every day. Thankfully, thank the Lord. It's not so, it's still an anomaly. Like, even in America, it's unlikely to happen to you. Like, it is 100% edge case that somebody might pick up a gun or take one out of their dad's drawer and run it into school and create a tragedy. It's still super rare that that might happen. But what does that tell you? It tells you that this is the sort of thing that happens very rarely to people who have created and nurtured a warped idea within their psychology that this is something that either is okay to do or that they have been driven to do. Like, it's not fucking normal to want to hurt other human beings like this. And if you think that it is, then maybe you need to be assessed or something. And like, if we back the fuck up out of that stuff and we do just subscribe to the idea that, well, you know what, some people, Aid, are just evil, then where does that leave us? Like, what solutions are you offering if you just get off the bus at some people are just evil? That is not a solution. That is I can't be bothered to deal with this. This is too complex a question for me. So I'm just going to wrap it all up with a nice little bow and say, every now and then, there's someone who's evil. And I know the media don't do us any fucking favors with this stuff when there is an awful story that comes out, when there is a child killing, or somebody butchers their wife and does something unspeakable to her. It's easy, it's tempting to wrap that shit up and just go, this was evil. That guy was evil, and that's why that happened. But actually, the inconvenient, slightly more uncomfortable but intellectual truth of it is that some people are incredibly sick, incredibly unwell, and through a mix of trauma, poor life experiences, sometimes addiction, sometimes hereditary conditions, they are pushed into a situation where they act in a way that is absolutely abnormal. And really, we have a choice. As human beings, we can either accept that that is a warped, strange variant of human biology or psychology or whatever the fuck. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. But we can accept that that is a strange variation that happens, and we can look at what causes it. We could treat these people like guinea pigs, which I know, look, even that has connotations of sort of, Nazism and experimentation on human beings, and I'm not 100% comfortable with that. But I'm just saying, by kicking the can down the road, by just going, oh, it's evil, this person is evil, I just think you don't solve the problem. What you actually do is you bequeath it to the next generation to have to deal with the same fucking thing. I mean, I don't suppose it will gather any speed and political momentum whatsoever, but I do wonder, like, is there a case to be made for, like, if you do get sexual predators, if you do get sex offenders and violent offenders, do you owe it to society to, instead of treating them like pure evil, locking them up in Victorian jails, punishing them, punitive measures, that sort of archaic approach to law enforcement and punishment, do you owe it to society and the next generation to look at things a little bit more longer term, and go, that happened, that's always fucking happening. Every generation has to deal with these same types of problems. What if we looked at that guy's brain, worked out what the fuck it is that creates that sort of behavior, and then we can look to either, if not prevent it, then maybe treat it. for future generations. Anyway, I'm going way off on a fucking tangent here. Anyway, so what happened next? So he has the meeting where they address these concerning pictures, and little did they know that at that moment, he already had the fucking gun in his backpack. They didn't search him, even though they were really concerned, and even though this teacher says, look, I think it was obvious that he was going to hurt someone. He was intent on hurting someone. They didn't bother to search his bag. And so then he was allowed to return back to class. And then it says here on CNN, it says just before 10 to 1, Crumbley could be seen with a backpack. And then a minute or two later, he exited the bathroom without the backpack, but with the gun in hand. Crumbley then allegedly began to methodically and deliberately walk the hallways and aim a gun at students and fire the weapon. When students began to run away, he allegedly continued to go down the hallway at a methodical pace and shot inside classrooms and at students who hadn't escaped. And so loads of students run down the hallways. They lock themselves in classrooms. The teachers barricade. Yeah, everyone grabs scissors and calculators, anything they can find to fight this guy off, this kid, if he comes into their classroom with his gun and starts shooting people. So scary fucking time. Somebody calls the cops, and within 2 or 3 minutes of the cops arriving, they apprehend him and he's in cuffs, and then that's it. Tragedy over. And anyway, now we spool forward. What are we now? 2 years ahead. And there's a hearing going on. Cheers, by the way. Dark one tonight. There's a hearing going on to discuss, it's essentially to discuss the sentencing that he's going to receive. Because he's already pled guilty. He said, yeah, you know what? Hands up. I did murder 4 kids. But it's now a question of, was it premeditated? To what extent was he mentally ill? Can he be blamed? To what extent can you apportion some of the blame on the parents? And you know what? Because this is America, and because, like, I don't know if you listened to the fucking the Murder Murders episode that I did recently. Because this is America, probably what's going to happen is this is going to kind of morph and explode into some massive civil suit. Like with the Murders, it's like they're going to sue the off license for selling beer to the kid who then got drunk and crashed his dad's boat and it killed someone. So whose fault is this? I mean, could you sue the gun manufacturer? Probably not. It's America, right? They would just claim it's there'd be some like weird like freedom of speech there. We should be allowed to manufacture killing machines and sell them to whoever. Even 15-year-olds. I'm amazed that the parents even had to buy the killing machine. He should have just come straight in and bought the shit himself. This is America last time I checked, Jack. Like the responsibility, man, goes straight out the window for a country that is so drunk on conservatism. Like, I think it was Ian Hislop who said, oh yeah, you know, over here we have a conservative party and then we have a left-leaning Labour Party. Whereas in the United States, you have a conservative party and a more conservative party. Like, that was his, and I fucking love that joke, or I love that, you know, satirical little witty one-liner, because it perfectly describes America. They're so drunk on the gaudy, Bible-y, ideological Christian right stuff. Like, even the supposed, like, left-leaning progressive party, i.e. the Democrats, even they won't say anything to start a fire, to create shit with the Christian right. And a big part of that conservative movement, just like it is over here, is self-responsibility. It's like, you make your own luck. You work hard and you study and you keep your head down and you make something of yourself. And then the government gets off your back and it's low taxes because you don't need the government to step in and pay for your medical bills. That's up to you and your family. You provide for your family. It's like that sort of shit. Right? Self-responsibility. And yet, at the first fucking turn of a corner, whether it is a dead girl in a boat or 4 dead teens in a school corridor. You're only a second away from somebody going, yeah, no, it's not the school shooter's fault and his fault alone. It's not the drunk millionaire's son drunk driving the boat and crashing. It's not either of their fault. Yeah, no, it's actually it's the off license, or like now in this case it will be the school had a duty of care, which they did, or it will be not the parents who had a duty of care to look after their kid and go like, I think we need to talk about Kevin, not the school counselor who obviously overlooked a lot of the fucking red flags and warning signs, not the local government or federal government for cutting the funding to each one of the social services that would have caught this fucking shit before it exploded into this murderous tragedy. None of that. Somehow, someone, somewhere will find a way to sue the trainer manufacturer for allowing the kid to run fast enough to catch up with whoever the fuck got blown to pieces. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say, whatever happened to just this guy being evil? I don't want to get, but whatever happened to just this guy being responsible? Like, you don't have to be certifiably evil to be responsible for some bad shit. I mean, I'm certifiably responsible for raising sad children. I am, but am I evil? No, I'm not evil. I'm just busy. I'm just stressed. Guys. Daddy, will you play with me? Will you fuck off? I'm doing a podcast. But at least Mummy and Daddy are still together, so you're going to be all right. I'm not that bad, really. I promise. Anyway, so this story sort of continues. Obviously, the actual shooting happened a couple of years ago. But now ABC News so different. CNN was before, ABC News is now, and it's saying that there is a hearing that's happening now. And it says this hearing is happening due to the shooter's age. He was just 15 at the time of the shooting, and juveniles in the state of Michigan are not automatically sentenced to life without parole. Like adults would be, for first-degree murder. A separate hearing will be held for his sentencing. Which, I don't want to sound like too much of a fluffy, cuddly, always forgiving lefty liberal. I don't want to lean too much into that cliche. But I do just want to say this, right? There is a reason that we have a state that dictates or hands down guidelines in a sense that, if my kids, God forbid, touch wood, nothing like this ever happens to them. I pray that they never get caught up in a fucking school shooting or something horrid like that. But if somebody's kids do get caught up like that, in a situation like that, we as the state, as the governing body, owe it to the wider society as part of the promise that we make to not slip into this sort of uncivil, barbaric way of living. Where if somebody does this, then we string them up in the fucking town square, slit their throat, behead them, put them on a rack. We've decided as countries, as states, that is not the way that we want to live. Now, I honestly think as an extension of that, we need to have a serious conversation, or rather, America need to have a serious conversation with itself, with themselves, as to how they fit this square-shaped object of trying kids as adults through the circular hole of Western liberal democracy. If you believe that children are groomable and corruptible by drag queens reading stories, if you think they're that fragile and amiable and corruptible and groomable, how do you square that with the idea that you can charge, try, and convict a 15-year-old as a fucking adult? Your frontal lobe isn't fully developed till you're fucking 27. What were you doing when you were 15? I was getting drunk in Kidwell's Park in Maidenhead, doing stupid shit, getting assaulted, I got headbutted by a girl, and I cried about it. Does any of that sound like adult, grown-up behaviour to you? Like, I'm not saying he's free of responsibility here, or that we should go and sue the school for not having the right kind of barriers and scanners and weapons detectors and shit on the school gates. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he did this stuff and he is responsible. I mean, you know, the parents, the parents are pretty shit. Yeah, but, I've had worse. So, I mean, no, wait, hold on. My parents are fine. My parents have been lovely my entire life. But, well, almost lovely. In the neighbourhood of lovely. I don't know. Like, what am I saying? I'm saying, look, he was 15. His frontal lobe hadn't developed yet. He had shit parents. There's no such thing as evil. He was failed by every single social care structure on the way to this murder. And I'm just saying that in a country that appears to be politically, religiously obsessed with the innocence of children and the manipulation of children, we've got to protect our children. That maybe it wouldn't do you so much fucking harm if you looked at kids like they're kids. Maybe you'd pause for thought when it's a subject of jailing 15-year-olds. Like, yeah, he's totally fine to jail as an adult. Yeah, I mean, he's basically, yeah, he's a grown-up. Oh, really? Because he was kidnapped and fucked in the arse by a billionaire. Oh, Jesus. Oh, well, in that case, he's a child. He's a vulnerable child. Right, okay. But then he grabbed an M16 and he went, like, he was angry about it. So he went, right, yeah. I mean, the only problem is that then he was really angry about it and he grabbed an M16 and he shot up a college. Right, well, that's not the NRA or the local mental health facilities problem. That was entirely down to him. It's self-responsibility. Try him as an adult. Right, I mean, it's just that a drag queen did read him Humpty Dumpty on the way to the school shoot. Oh, well, Jesus Christ. I mean, that changes things just a tad. But he loved Humpty Dumpty, but he also liked Marilyn Manson. So, fucking send him to the chair. Guys, that's it. That's all I've got time for. I got to run. Thank you so much for continuing to listen to the podcast. If you are in a position to, please do consider jumping on patreon.com/Aid Thompson. You get episodes of the pod 2 days before everyone else. You get exclusive first look at the live show tickets. Me, Super Tansky, Danny fucking Price, Jolly and Rubenstein was at our show in February. This coming one, we've got Dane Baptiste. It's going to be a riot, man. It's literally called the Riot Society. It's going to be good fun. I've got my night in September. That's Thursday, the 28th of September. Tickets to that also went on Patreon first. There's a Discord chat. I'm in there every day. We share memes. We talk shit. We check in on each other. It's a good time, man. You get RSS feeds to the podcast. You can plumb that straight into your Spotify or your Apple podcast. You get a monthly Skype call with me, with yours truly, if that's of interest. It might not be. I'm not sure. But if you join a certain tier on the Patreon, then you get that offered to you. There's fucking loads of stuff on there. Jump on patreon.com/Aid Thompson, and it starts at £3 a month. So, I mean, what is £3? I mean, it's a lot to me because I'm going through a remortgage at the moment. But but to you, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe the cost of living hasn't touched you the same way that it has me. Anyway, so if you're not in a position to support the podcast by Patreon, all I would ask is that you share me around. Please do consider clicking the share button on an episode of the podcast that you have enjoyed. Maybe send it to a friend, pop it on a tweet, stick it on Facebook, stick it in your WhatsApp chat with your mates, whatever it is. Consider sharing me around. Or if you're on the Apple Podcast app, what would be really amazing is if you could write me a review. Just pop me a little 4 or 5 star review on there, because that helps the podcast to get recommended. It gets me bumped up a little bit. And finally, last thing I promise, If you wouldn't mind jumping on the YouTube, I'm really trying to grow the YouTube at the moment because I've heard some really actually quite inspiring stories about YouTube and revenue and how to make it your actual job. And I'm really excited about it. I'm actually fucking psyched. Like, for the first time in, like, ages, I'm like, I could fucking do that, man. So if you wouldn't mind jumping on the YouTube, it's the same handle for everything, like Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Go on youtube.com/Aid Thompson. Actually, it's at Aid Thompson, so I'm talking shit. But if you Google me, like, I'm sure you'll find it. Or you can go on Funk27. Then that would be great. Just watch a video, like it, subscribe it, all of the usual stuff that insufferable people like me say at the end of podcasts or videos. Anyway, that's it from me. Take care of yourselves. Keep it strictly #Bimfluencer, strictly #Booge. I'm actually quite pissed now, so I'm going to go. I'm out this motherfucker.